The heiress mistook me for a charity case. For 4 years, she kept me by her side, slipping me $3,000 a month like I was on a scholarship for the destitute. Then, right as we graduated university, she dumped me to go home for an arranged marriage. We had been in love for 4 years, yet I was the last to know. Her number was disconnected, her social media accounts deleted. She vanished from my life like a ghost, leaving me completely blindsided. Her lawyer showed up at my door with a dossier. It stated that Elena Vance was voluntarily gifting me her lakeside villa, a Maybach, and a cashier's check for $2 million as a thank you for the last 4 years. She pulled a disappearing act, broke up with me for no logical reason, and treated me like a gigolo she was paying off. But I was never hurting for money. I had told Elena this when we first got together. She had just laughed, confident in her own worldview. Even if you have money, Caleb, you couldn't possibly have more than me. I was too in love to argue the point. But why break up with me now? Just last night, she had been passionate, clinging to me all night, whispering how much she loved me. I forced myself to calm down and made a few calls to my family's connections. It didn't take long to find out Elena had returned home for a strategic marriage alliance. When I crashed the engagement gala, I saw Elena standing on the stage. Her minimalist gown was tailored to perfection, accentuating jewelry worth a small fortune. She didn't need heavy makeup. She was the perfect blend of elegance and grandeur. Beside her stood a man who was barely 5'3", wide as he was tall, with a complexion that looked like active volcanic terrain. My girlfriend wanted to marry this? It was obvious Elena was miserable. She was being forced. I stared at Elena and began a slow, deliberate walk toward the stage. Before I could speak, the man suddenly materialized in front of me. He was so short he had to crane his neck to look me in the eye. I had to look down to acknowledge his existence. You actually dare to show up? He hopped in anger, looking ready to swing at me. I took a step back, dodging him effortlessly, my brow furrowed as I looked past him to Elena. You broke up with me to marry this thing? What are you talking about? Elena rushed forward, raising her hand and slapping me hard across the face. When the greasy little man tried to hit me, I dodged. When Elena hit me, I didn't. She was wearing towering heels. I was afraid she'd trip if I moved. She was about to marry someone else, yet here I was, worried about her footing. I was pathetic, wasn't I? The stinging heat bloomed on my cheek. I lowered my head, silent, feeling a heavy, profound sorrow sink into my chest. You're Elena's college boyfriend? The man stepped closer, his voice dripping with disdain. A total freeloader, and you come here acting tough. Do you know who I am? I'm Brody Ricketts. The Ricketts family is the richest in Chicago. I didn't spare Brody a glance. I kept my eyes on Elena, leaving without a word. Do you think I was fair? Fair, Brody interjected. House, car, money. I gave you everything. What more do you want? Stop it, Caleb. We're done, Elena said, her brows engaging in a tight knot. You know that for a family like mine, marriage and love are two different things. I thank you for your company these past 4 years, but my husband can only be Brody Ricketts. Do you understand? I'm just asking you, do you love me? I looked at her, my voice steady. I knew everything about elite marriage alliances. My parents had an arranged marriage, but they were lucky. They grew up together. As for me, I could marry for an alliance, or I could choose not to. My family status in New York was absolute. We didn't need marriage to cement our power. Love. Elena laughed bitterly. Stop being childish, Caleb. Since I was little, I knew I was a bargaining chip. I don't believe in love. Dating you, I just did it because you were handsome and poor. I could control you. She sneered. There, that's your answer. Now will you leave? The sweetness I had believed in for 4 years was just a delusion of my own making. In Elena's eyes, I was just a trophy, a compliant, handsome accessory. Laughable. I nodded. If this was how it was, then fine. My heart ached, but I knew how to cut my losses. I tried. Since I couldn't stay, I would let go. I looked at Elena and gave a bitter smile. Fine. I wish you happiness. I turned to leave. Elena clenched her fists and looked away, refusing to watch me go. But Brody blocked my path, sneering. Since you're here, stay and watch the show. If you leave now, you're disrespecting me, which means you're disrespecting the Ricketts family, and by extension, all of Chicago. That arrogant. I chuckled. Brody missed the contempt in my tone entirely, clapping his hands like a seal. Immediately, a group of men in black suits emerged, surrounding the stage. Kid, I'm telling you, if I'm not happy today, you're not walking out of here, Brody threatened. Elena rushed forward, screaming at me. Get out. Get the hell out. I don't want to see you. Did I give you permission to speak? Brody snapped at her coldly. You think I'm stupid? You think I don't see you trying to protect him? Protecting me? I glanced at Elena and saw only worry in her eyes. Was she lying before to drive me away? Elena shook her head frantically. I just don't want any ties to my past. Besides, it's our engagement. Having an ex-boyfriend here. If word gets out, your dignity go. Her tone softened. Brody, I'm thinking of you. Brody's complexion improved instantly, but his ego remained. I'm not afraid of losing face. In Chicago, I am the face. He pointed at me. Get off the stage and watch. I nodded, gave Elena a fake smile, and walked down. Immediately, the men in black surrounded me, corralling me into a corner. Afraid I'd run? From a stage, Brody called out, Kid, watch from right there. Unless I say you can leave, you're stuck. If you don't let me leave now, you might find that when you want me to go later, I won't feel like moving, I said with a calm smile. Shut up. Elena shouted at me. I smiled and fell silent. If they wanted to play games, they couldn't blame me for the outcome. Brody spoke up again. I heard you're from New York. Perfect. Some heavy hitters from New York are coming soon. Top-tier trust fund kids. I'll introduce you, help you see what real wealth looks like. Well, thank you for that. The ceremony ended quickly. The next phase was the banquet. Brody led Elena around for the toasts. Everyone fawned over Brody obsequiously. Just then, a girl sat down next to me. She was sweet-looking, with a bit of baby fat on her cheeks, very cute. Her eyes resembled Elena's. I'm Chloe Vance, your ex-girlfriend's sister, she whispered. From now on, don't talk. Just follow me. Her face was sweet, but her voice was ice-cold. She grabbed my hand as she spoke. I didn't move. Your sister sent you? What do you think? Chloe frowned. Hurry up and come with me, or you won't be able to leave. The men in black closed in again. Chloe sighed, releasing my hand and sitting back down. She realized escape was impossible. You shouldn't have come, she sighed again. If it weren't for you, my sister wouldn't have to marry that fat tub of lard. For me, I was shocked. Before I could ask more, a commotion rippled through the hall. Brody and Elena headed toward the entrance, gesturing for everyone to stand. I watched as 8 or 9 people walked in. Men and women, all young, but carrying themselves with a distinct, heavy gravity. The leader was in his 20s, radiating authority. Julian, you finally made it. It wouldn't be a party without you, Brody announced. Julian Thorne didn't shake Brody's hand. He didn't even look at him closely. He scrutinized Elena for a moment, then spoke. You're Elena Vance? Elena froze for a second, then nodded. Julian's demeanor softened, a smile spreading across his face. He really hid you well. Otherwise, we would have met a long time ago. Brody assumed that he referred to himself, though he was confused about the hiding part. He didn't dwell on it, turning to address the room. Everyone, this is Julian Thorne of the New York Thorne family. The Thornes are the Ricketts family's greatest backers. The crowd applauded like trained seals. Brody noticed I was still sitting on the sofa and roared, Kid, where do you get the nerve? Why are you still sitting? Elena immediately chimed in. Caleb, stand up. The room's gaze fell on me again. The smiles were malicious. In their eyes, the Prince of New York had arrived, and my refusal to stand was a death wish. I was about to be destroyed. I remained seated, steady as a mountain, and smiled at Julian Thorne. Do I need to stand? Julian froze. He rubbed his eyes, squinted at me, and his face drained of color. Brody laughed sinisterly. Julian, that's my fiancé's ex. Basically a dog bed for scraps. I kept him here for entertainment. Elena's face went pale, her teeth clenched. Brody, you promised me. You said if I married you, you wouldn't touch him. I did promise, but he showed up on his own. I lost face. Why should I let him off? Brody sneered. Elena didn't answer him. Instead, she walked toward me. She walked up to me, shaking her head with a bitter smile, her eyes full of lingering affection. When will you ever let me stop worrying? I stood up and grinned at her, the sunny, bright smile she always loved. Don't talk about me. What about you? When will you finally believe that your man has actual power? I took her hand and pulled her into my arms. She whispered urgently, Caleb, I really can't protect you this time. Your only way out is to take me hostage. Get out of here, take the money I gave you, and run far away. I smiled helplessly. She still didn't believe me. Did I hide it that well? By now, the men in black were closing in, but the banquet servers suddenly moved. They intercepted the bodyguards. In less than 10 seconds, the black-suited men were on the floor. The Ricketts family security detail was neutralized. The sudden violence drew gasps from the guests. Elena looked bewildered and tried to drag me away. Let's go quickly. No need. I pulled her back and sat her down on the sofa. Then I sat beside her, crossing my legs. I looked relaxed, but the air around me shifted. I was no longer a student. I was the predator. Elena stared at me blankly, as if she'd never met me. To her, I was sunny and considerate. She had never seen the steel beneath the sheath. Brody stood frozen for a moment before shouting, "You punk, you have a death wish? This is Chicago. This is my territory." He pointed at the servers I had planted. "I get it. Elena gave you money, and you used her money to hire thugs to crash my party." Before entering, I had swapped the venue staff with my own team. As the old saying goes, a wise man does not stand under a crumbling wall. I wouldn't have shown up without preparation. Brody turned to Julian. "Julian, lend me your security detail. I'm going to kill him." Julian didn't speak. He walked straight up to me and bowed deeply. "Mr. Sterling." Julian's posture was extremely humble, his respect absolute. The entourage he brought with him immediately bowed in unison. I smiled and didn't respond. The room went dead silent. Brody ran up, stammering, "Julian, what is this?" Smack. Julian slapped Brody across the face. "You think I came here to celebrate? I just found out you stole Mr. Sterling's woman. I came here to beat the hell out of you." Brody clutched his face, utterly confused. "New York. The Sterling family. You don't know." Julian barked. Brody's face went ashen, his voice trembling. You mean Caleb is from the New York Sterlings?" "Not just a Sterling. He is the heir," Julian said sharply. "Is the Sterling family that powerful? Do you live under a rock? In the last 3 generations, that family has produced 7 senators and cabinet members." "Then, is Elena crazy? She has a boyfriend like that, and she let herself be threatened by you." As the crowd began to whisper, Elena's expression shifted through a spectrum of emotions. She stood frozen, staring at me with disbelief, her eyes quickly reddening as tears welled up. I shrugged helplessly. "I told you early on that my family was a big deal. You just didn't believe me. I didn't think it mattered, so I didn't push it. I figured you'd find out when we got married. Who knew you'd be so silly, trying to protect me and almost getting yourself married off to a pig?" Elena looked half angry, half relieved, and started punching my arm repeatedly. I pulled her into a hug. "Did you never stop to think? You're beautiful. Your family is well off. Yet for 4 years of college, no one ever hit on you. That was all you." Elena looked at Julian in shock. "But he said you hid me well. Everyone knew you existed," I explained. "But without my permission, no one dared to approach you. Anyone who thought about pursuing you was discouraged. The apartment we lived in, you bought it, sure, but the nanny, the chef, the maids, those were all my people." I sighed. "I didn't tell you the whole truth because you wouldn't believe me, and I didn't want to pressure you. I really should have told you. Then you wouldn't have been threatened." I hadn't taken the Vance family's decline seriously, so I hadn't investigated. Otherwise, Brody Ricketts would never have been an issue. Their goal was simply to restore the fading Vance family to its former glory. For the Sterling family, that was as easy as waving a hand. Now, it was time to deal with Brody. "Mr. Ricketts, you're quite the tyrant," I smiled. Brody's legs gave out. He collapsed, kneeling instantly. He started banging his head on the floor. "Mr. Sterling, I swear I didn't know who you were. If I knew, I never would have dared." As he begged, I saw a flash of venom in his eyes. I looked at Elena. "Did he touch you?" Elena shook her head. "I stalled them until dawn and then ran back here for the banquet. Nothing happened." I nodded and stood up. "Let's end this here. True power operates on capital and rules, not street brawls." We left the banquet and went to the Vance family home. I had seen Elena's parents at the hall. They hadn't spoken then, looking at me with disdain. When my identity was revealed, they looked like they were about to explode with excitement, but held it back to appear dignified. They wanted to look deep and profound so I wouldn't look down on them. It didn't matter. The Van Sass were low level. I couldn't be bothered to decipher their petty schemes. I sat in the Vance living room. Elena's parents sat opposite me. Elena was by my side. Julian and his crew had been dismissed to go enjoy the city. "Since the Vance family wants to rise again, it's no problem," I said flatly. "Give it 2 weeks. "Mr. Vance suddenly spoke up. "The Vance family intends to enter the New York market." I raised a hand to interrupt. "I understand you want to bring glory to your name, sir, but if you take steps that are too big, you'll fall. Take it slow." Mrs. Vance frowned. If her daughter married Brody, the Vance family could have entered New York immediately using the Thorne family connections. Your family is more powerful than the Thornes. Why can't you get us into New York? Elena looked embarrassed. "Mom, Dad, listen to Caleb. Stop talking. You haven't even married him yet, and you're already siding with outsiders." Mrs. Vance slapped the coffee table. "Listen here, Caleb. If you can't guarantee the Vance family gets into New York, this marriage is off the table." No wonder the family collapsed. These two had zero vision. I was about to speak when Elena squeezed my hand. She looked at them seriously. Mom, Dad, the Vance family isn't ready for New York. Even if we force our way in on Caleb's back, people will look down on us. It might even give people ammunition to attack Caleb's family. What we need to do is settle down, build our strength in Chicago, and then move to New York when we're ready. Are you lecturing me? I'm your father. Mister. Vance roared. Elena finally snapped. Dad, if you hadn't been so stubborn back then, the family wouldn't have been scammed, we wouldn't have fallen, and Grandpa wouldn't have died of stress. You have no memory for pain. She grabbed my hand. Let's go. We can't talk to people without brains. This was the Elena I knew, decisive and correct. On the way to the hotel, I asked about the scam. She explained briefly. A middleman who knew some people in New York told her father to invest, promising it was a ticket to the city. The whole family opposed it, but her father insisted. He was nearly scammed into bankruptcy. Since then, he'd been obsessed with getting to New York. Moving to New York, the seat of power, was an obsession for provincial families. But very few could transplant themselves there and survive. You'd be rejected everywhere. Especially New York, it was an exclusive club that guarded its meat jealously. Every year, people used actions as bait. Julian Thorne, for instance, was Fickett's family. Brody was the richest man in Chicago, but he was a hollow shell. Most of the Ricketts' money was being Julian as tribute. I had done similar things. I told Elena all of this on the ride. Back at the hotel, she lay in my arms. Caleb, you've suddenly become this person. It's like I never knew you. Before, you were like a big kid. Now you seem so worldly. Which one is the real you? They both are, I said. Only with you. I'm my purest self. What you call worldly is just survival wisdom I was raised with. If you're interested, after we're married, we'll live at the main estate. You'll understand soon enough. Elena nodded, then shook her head. I'm not interested. I only hustled before because no one in my family could carry the load. Now I have you. Why should I hustle? She was right. With me there, she didn't need to fight anymore. After dark, Julian sent a car for us. We drove to the outskirts of the city, to a dog farm owned by the Ricketts family. A dog fighting ring. We were there because Brody and Elena's parents had lost their minds. They had actually attempted to kidnap me, to hold me, for ransom against the Sterling family. Unfortunately for them, the moment Brody made his move, Julian's men intercepted him. They dragged him here. I sat in the viewing stand, looking down at the pit. Brody had been thrown inside, covered in blood. Opposite him was a chained, vicious fighting dog. Next to me stood the trembling Mr. and Mrs. Vance. I never expected two people could be stupid enough to try and kidnap me. Elena gritted her teeth. What were you thinking? Even if you kidnapped Caleb and got into New York, did you think the Sterlings wouldn't sanction you? What's there to be afraid of? Mister. Vance hissed through clenched teeth. Once the deed is done, the Vance family is in. Plus, you're the Sterling daughter-in-law. Would they really destroy your family? Elena was too furious to speak. I patted her hand and turned to her father. You really don't understand the power of the top circle. If you had actually endangered my life, my parents wouldn't care who I loved. They would bypass me entirely. They would erase the Vance family. And that would include Elena. It sounded cruel, but it was the truth. My parents would never leave Elena alive. They would fear her seeking revenge. They wouldn't leave a single loose end. Mr. Sterling, I really messed up. Let me go, please. Brody screamed from his voice hoarse. The dog's chain snapped. Brody's screaming stopped instantly. I shielded Elena's eyes from the bloody carnage, took her hand, and led her away. Her parents tried to leave too, but I blocked their path. You two stay. Watch carefully. I want a 20,000-word essay on what you learned. If you can't write it, you could go down there and get a closer look. The Ricketts family has plenty of people to feed the dogs. I needed them to understand that being my in-laws wasn't a game. 6 months later, Elena and I graduated. We returned to New York and held the wedding of the century.